Hey everybody, it's your boy Tramel. If you see me on the street, you can call me Tramel, and this is an outpour of my story. My coming out story was actually a very funny yet painful one. It's funny now, but I came out when I was 19. Uh, the reason I came out was not because I wanted to. I was actually dragged out. So my stepfather at the time, she's no longer with him. My mother's no longer with him. He had this idea that he wanted to investigate me for whatever reason. I guess because I wasn't like on girls like he thought I should be at the time. So he actually set me up because I was on an app called Men for Now at the time. Well, it wasn't an app, it was just on the computer because we didn't have like a lot of cell phones back then. So he had this guy hit me up, a guy he worked with who was a gay guy. He had him hit me up on the website. And then he gave the guy my phone number because I wasn't responding to the guy because the guy was not my type, not to say the least. So the guy called me. He was like, "Oh, we were supposed to meet up and hang out." And I was like, "Who are you?" And so he actually gave me his screen name and I looked him up and I hung up the phone. Didn't say anything. So my mom called me and she was like, "Are you gay?" And I was like, "How you gonna ask me a question like that?" No, I actually said yes. And it just turned out to be like really horrible. It was like a really horrible experience. It was actually very sad. I had to leave my house for a while. So I was essentially homeless. I had to quit school and for a little while. And then, we eventually came back together and rest is history.
The funny thing is, because I always find, as a psychologist, whenever someone says it's funny how, I know it is really not funny. Is that something that you do a lot? Like when it's hard?
Do I do that a lot? Like make something funny that's not really funny? Yes. I think it's a way to protect myself from the actual pain and hurt of it, to try to find some humor in it or to find some kind of way to cope with it. I think that's been my defense mechanism for like as long as I can remember. And I know that about myself, and I actively try to work to not do that as much and try to actually sit in the feelings. But at the end of the day, I don't want to be sad. So I'll just do whatever I got to do to make myself laugh at a situation that could be possibly traumatic, because that was a really traumatic coming out experience. But when I think about it in retrospect as something that was an experience, and I could laugh at it now only because I survived it.
How did this situation reconcile?
How did the situation reconcile itself? Well, my mother actually saw that I was being independent, and I didn't rely on her for anything. So she realized that if she didn't get a hold of me at that particular time, that she was going to lose me and I was never going to come back. So she actually started reaching out a little bit more when I was gone I was only gone for like maybe like 2 or 3 months. And so that I think that hurt her more than anything. So she just kind of like came back around and she apologized. We've actually grown from it, and she knows my man now, and she really cares about him. So it's just like second family. I am originally born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia. I am the last one. Like, there aren't too many of us left. So most of the transplants and the people who migrate here, they don't know that there are only like a few of us. So when the name, "Oh, don't move to Atlanta, it's terrible. The dudes there, the people there are trash." No, nobody's from here but like me and like 5 other people. We have a club. I was born July 26, 1986. So I grew up pretty much in the late 80s throughout the 90s. So Atlanta growing up, I was a kid. It was so fun. It was a lot of fun. There was a lot of things to do, even as a child. Like, I actually grew up pretty fast, honestly, because, my mom wasn't like an old mother. Like, I had a young mom. Like, she was only like 22 when she had me. So she pretty much still partied and had herself a good time. And I had older cousins who, took me around and showed me around. And, we had good times like all the time. So I grew up around the age of, well, I was like 10, 11, 12, but Freaknik was out. And I knew what that was very vividly. I used to see like people dancing, women dancing all over the place. I saw titties, I saw dicks. It was crazy. It was crazy. When did I know I wanted to sing? I've always wanted to be in entertainment. I've always wanted to do something in entertainment. I was always afraid though. Fear is what kept me held back for a very long time in a young age. I had terrible stage fright, and I'm still working through that even to this day. But when I was like 7 years old, there was like this recital that we had, and they had us, singing. Like we were all supposed to sing as a choir type situation. We were in music class, but I was like the loudest one. And so he was like, "Oh, you want to sing?" So he put me out in front, like at the first performance that we did, and it scared the shit out of me. Like it scared the shit out of me. I did it, and I sounded good, but it scared the shit out of me as a 7-year-old kid. And I just realized like that was not something that I was ready for. And so I kind of backed out of it. The next show that we were supposed to do, I made up some kind of lie or something when I was like 7. I told him I was like sick or something, or I couldn't do it. But when I wanted to do it professionally was after I found out that it was something that could be done. You know what I'm saying? I looked at it as, let me just try it and see how it works out. And I tried it when I was like, I started my music career when I was like 32. So ever since then, ever since that first song that I created, I was hooked. Like I've never felt like so good. So when did I know that I actually was talented was, honestly, I made my first song. It was called Single. And it was out, and everybody, some people listened to it at the time. There was no video for it. I did no performances for it. So months went by. I was actually planning a video shoot, and then I got an opportunity to perform at a big birthday party, like a huge birthday party that was packed with people. It's my first performance ever, and there was notable like celebrities there. You know what I'm saying? Like relevant celebrities at the time. There was Tokyo Vanity, Little Keed, who actually passed away, unfortunately. He was actually there performing, and there were some other like independent artists that I had heard of that were amazing, like dope. And this was my first experience, and I had to go on first. So when I felt, how I felt about it was I was very nervous. Obviously, it was my first time performing in front of people, and especially a big crowd of people like that. Once I was done performing, I rehearsed for a very long time because I wanted to have dancers. I wanted to do a whole shebang. So after I got done, I watched the playback because I recorded it. I had a videographer there. And when I saw myself, and the crowd just yelling and screaming because I couldn't hear anything. I just couldn't feel anything. I just wanted to get off the stage. After I was done, I just said thank you, and I walked away. But to actually watch myself and to see how well that I did, it made me cry. Like I literally felt so good. Like I can't believe that I did that. I can't believe that I actually did that, and I looked good doing it, and I sounded great. And yeah, after that, I was just like, okay, I can do it. So I was single for 9 years. I've had the guy I was dating at the time. We had dated for 2 years. I was 22 when we met, and I think the relationship ended when I was 24 or going on 24. I learned from that relationship that I put a lot of energy into one person, and I just let my whole self go. So in that 9 years, I learned how to love myself. Like I loved myself so deeply. It wasn't on purpose, but it became a thing for me because I wasn't going to be with somebody else who didn't love me as much as I love myself. And I said that to myself. I'm like, I'm not going to be with somebody who's not going to take care of this over here as well as I am, because I'm fine by myself. I don't need anybody else. My mom always told me that, you're happier when you're single, honestly, because I ain't got to answer to nobody. I don't have to do anything for anybody. And that did create a selfish spirit inside of me. But then when I actually got into a relationship again, it kind of went completely left. Like, I just went head first into it because I found somebody who really made me feel like they cared about me and who actually was invested in me as a person. And so I felt like, hey, I can return that investment. Like, we're going to do this together. It's going to be a great, great thing. Like, we're going to make it. And there'll be a couple of things. What would I tell Tramel at 19? I would go back and I would tell him, I was like, look here, little boy. You are loved. You are special. You don't need to try to make these guys out here like you. You just need to be yourself. Just smile. Go to school for something. Go make yourself a life. Make yourself a life. You want to do music? Start it right now. Like, do it now. Don't be afraid. People are going to like you. You have a magnetic personality, and I want you to know that you are loved and you don't have to seek it from people outside of yourself. You can love people, but love people with your mind and your heart. Don't just think that everybody's they have to have one piece of you. Just love people earnestly and let that go, even if they don't. Don't try to make people love you. And that's what I would tell them. This is Tramel, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
And as always, I'm Antar Bush, and I want to thank you for the outpour of love and support. Take care.